You either need to make sure that your next several reviews are 5 stars, or you maybe need to start over on that listing. Has your property fallen off the Airbnb review cliff? Now, this is a term that we're started using internally because we wanted to answer the question, does Airbnb penalize you for having a certain review score? Is there a certain score that Airbnb just does not like and will penalize you for falling off of that proverbial cliff? So what we did is we analyzed all the properties on IntelliHost to identify if there was a point at which first page impressions dropped more significantly. Let me elaborate on what I mean. We looked at all of the review scores that dropped from one review to the next and put them into buckets. So let's say someone who dropped from 5 stars to 4.9 and someone who dropped from 4.9 to 4.8 or 4.7 to 4.6 and analyzed the change in their first page impression rate for each of those buckets. So what we found is that the drop in first page impression rate from going from like a 5 star to a 4.9 is about, well, it's about 1%. In your first page impression rate. And again, from 4.9 to 4.8, 1% drop. From 4.8 to 4.7, again, about 1% drop. 1.7 to 4.6, about 1% drop again. Now, once you go from 4.6 to 4.5, the drop is about 2%. So it increases, and then the drop is even more substantial once you go from 4.5 to 4.4. In fact, if anywhere from 4.3 to 4.4, the average drop is over 10% first page impression rate. So there does seem to be evidence that there's a drop off right after about 4.5, 4.4 stars. And what that really means is if you have very few reviews on your property and you drop, it's very easy to fluctuate, right? You can go from 5 star to 4 star within one review. And so if you don't have very many reviews and you fall below that 4.4, 4.3 stars, you either need to make sure that your next several reviews are 5 stars, or you maybe need to start over on that listing, because dropping below that cliff, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to climb back up that ladder. It's kind of a king of the hill scenario. So make sure that you do everything you can to get as many 5-star reviews in the beginning. Now, here's a tip to do that. If you are a brand new property, we recommend, and this is something that we do for our properties, is we let our guests know and be very transparent that this is a brand new property and we need their help in getting feedback for that property. Now, you never want to pay for reviews and you never want to say, hey, here's $100 for giving us a 5-star review. But you can ask them for private feedback. Say, hey, this is a new property and we'd like to offer you a $100 discount or a $100 refund if you'll give us some really constructive feedback on what we can do better to improve this property. It's more likely if the guest knows that this is a new property that they're going to be a little bit more forgiving in their review and make sure that most of that negative feedback goes in the private form so that you can get what you need to actually improve that property. And this kind of gives you a little bit of a safety net in case something does go wrong in those first few reviews, you can recover from that, okay? I can't stress enough how important those first few reviews are and to get those just right, because if you really get even just one 4-star review, it will just be murder. So if you want to know what else works on Airbnb, subscribe.